everyone, and welcome to The Panhandle with me, Crystal Boyles. This is our third series in our Embrace the Suck August mini-series. If you're just joining us, I do recommend going back and listening to episodes 10 and 11, where we discuss how having customers and employees can be hard and how to overcome that. And today we're talking about how change sucks. And still with me is my husband and business partner, Nathan Boyles. We've been through a lot of change over the years in our business, but this year's been the most change.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm not as keen on change as you are, it seems.
I know I love change. You know, it really is kind of what motivates me, but I think I'm probably have determined that I'm an outlier personality in that regard. And so what sucks about change for me is that it's difficult for folks around me. Difficult for you, difficult for employees, certainly difficult for customers.
Yeah. And we just got back from a trip. We took our kids to Cartersville, Georgia, and a lot of good museums in that area, and Kennesaw included. And we went to the TELUS Science Center, and they had like the fossil section and the mineral section, and then like the sciencey section. And so when you first walk into the sciencey section, there's like the evolution of cars. And I got to thinking, like, how many times, like, once you figure out a way to do it right, something changed in the world around you, and you had to pivot and adjust to it, or else you would then end up in the fossil section, extinct like the saber-toothed tiger. So I'm like, we have to change or we will die. You know, our business will just go extinct. And so I have to keep that in mind. Even though it drives me crazy, I am learning to adapt to change, just like our employees and our customers are having to adapt.
So two sidebars. One, I wish Quinn was here. She would tell you that that's a smilodon. And also sciencey. I don't know if it's a word, but it totally should be a word going forward. We're going to adopt that.
I'm not very sciencey, so that might be why I use that word.
You evolve or you die, which means change or die. And yet what's interesting about that is it's still so counterintuitive to human nature, it seems. Mm-hmm. And people just really struggle. You know, I think customers, right? So having to kind of change our policies as we grow, and you know, as a small company, you try something. If that doesn't work well operationally, then you may need to adjust. But what we find is if a customer has, you know, done it this way for a period of time, the new way of doing it, even if it may be better for the customer, many customers view it as it must be worse. It's bad because it's changed. It's different. Yeah.
Even like, and for us, like going from doing something for 3,000 people twice a week to now doing it for almost 13,000 people twice a week, there was some necessary change. And it could be as simple as, we're going to have to change your garbage day from Thursday, Friday to Monday, Thursday. And that seems simple. We've learned that that's not simple. Our employees have to adjust to that change, and you have to give plenty of notice to customers when you're doing something like that.
So again, I think communication, which is a theme I think we've covered already, is it does help. It doesn't fix it, but certainly I think over communicating if you need to change something, both what's changing and then the why that it's changing. Because there are some of those folks out there, the why people out there. And for that group of folks, at least, I think it helps them embrace the change. Mm-hmm. There's another group out there who it doesn't matter why, it's just going to be bad for them because it's different. But
which Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendency, I can like just imagine they have the questioners. They're like, well, why? And then you have the rebels, I don't like change. And then you have the obligers, okay, whatever you say, I'm good. So I do think it's a personality thing.
Absolutely. Our challenge is when you deal with 13,000 personalities, you're going to get a heaping of all of those, I guess. And so change can really be challenging.
So what have we learned? We've gone through a lot of change.
Well,
how are we going to do it better next time?
One's communicate. I think, you know, 2 is, I think just preparing your people. So if talking about like internally, right? We've had a lot of change in the growth, and we talked about with our employees segment earlier, policies that have to change. So I think prepping your people as best as possible. And so I think like with a new employee coming in, I think it would be, and we really don't do this well enough yet, but making sure that employee understands, hey, we're a fast growing company. We're evolving. So here's the way it is today, but we need you to understand that it may be different next month and next quarter and next year. And we need you to be prepared now for that change, because I think what we find is when people, the way they get it on day one is how they expect it will be. Yeah. You may be able to soften that blow some by really just telling folks, hey, you're stepping into a dynamic environment and you need to be prepared for change. Most of it's going to be good and positive, but you better be prepared for it because it's coming.
And from the employee front, our biggest challenge this year was going from a paper timesheet system to an honest to goodness, clock in, clock out on a phone app. It made the accounting world so much easier and saved money on time of processing payroll, but it was a very painful change.
And I think really only because it was different, right?
Yeah.
If we had, I think what we decided, if we had that system in place the day those employees started, it would have been a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that with our customers, right? So we had, in our first county of service, we had paper bills.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. People don't realize how much time and labor it takes to prepare a paper bill accurately for each customer and then to mail that to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in our business where the price is the same every month, it doesn't make good sense to spend that money and those resources. Mm-hmm. And so when we started in our new county of service, we just didn't offer paper billing. And no big deal. Those customers have embraced the fact that they get their email bill rather than paper.
Right.
Now changing that in the original county, very difficult. And we've had a number of customers, as you mentioned, there was a group that were just, hey, that's fine. And then you've had a group of holdouts who we've had Better Business Bureau complaints over the fact that we are, moving away from offering a paper statement to our customers because they just can't understand why you would change it.
Mm-hmm. So communication, that helps. It doesn't fix it, and just understanding that it might be a little painful, but embrace the suck momentarily, and you'll get past it.
I think that's part of it. It goes back to that. You're not going to make every customer happy. Mm-hmm. Same thing with customers and employees. We'll do the best we can to communicate it, but they're going to have to understand at the end of the day, this change has to happen, and being resilient to maybe some of the criticism or frustration that you receive as you work through that process. Because what we found on almost every one of these cycles of change, a few months into it, it's like it's always been this way, and everybody's fine with it, and they have gotten past the fact that it was different before.
And then something we've learned, if you know something is not working right and you should change it, fear of change is almost paralyzing.
Oh, that's a good point. We've done that before.
We have. We're like, oh, this is going to be so hard and uncomfortable. Let's just sweep it under the rug for a little bit longer. And then when you actually get around to doing it was just way worse than if you'd have just took care of it when it would come up.
You know what it reminds me of? Our kids and getting a splinter, right? We have had our kids at various stages where they just
very dramatic.
Oh my goodness, and it was the leading up to getting that thorn out has just been miserable, and then finally you just have to you have to hold them and I have to pull it, but as soon as it's done, it's like, oh, well, wait, that wasn't so bad. And I think really it's something like that at the end of the day.
So don't push it off. It just gets worse.
No, change is good, right? If you've got something that's not working right, it's generally not going to fix itself as much as I might like to think it will. It's generally not. And so if you've got a plan, put your plan in place. Make the change. Get to the other side of it because it's typically going to be better on the other side. And
that's something I've learned. Like when we were preparing to start our new service and grow overnight by what it was now. Triple in size. Yeah. Like it was hard for me. I just kind of, when I get nervous or tense, I kind of get in this little box and I could just see the walls. I'm like, how is this ever going to be any easier than it is right now? And so you have to not box yourself in and know that it's temporary pain. Mm-hmm. Today is not like tomorrow. Tomorrow, the next day will be even better. So.
Yeah, and that's where we're very different, isn't it? Yeah. Whereas I'm looking,
excel at that.
I don't even notice all of this, and sometimes I can be dangerous.
And I'm just looking for the wall all the time. All right, so change is hard, but change is good.
It's vital.
Keep changing. All right, thank y'all so much for joining us on this episode. We'll see you next week.